On this episode of Maritime Insights from a Deck Officer, we're going to be looking at this ship, why it must pay $236,911 today. So this is an LPG tanker right here, and if it wants to continue its route to Mexico, it will have to pay this ginormous fee today. And I'm about to show you exactly why this ship has to pay this fee, how I calculated this fee, and I'm going to break down exactly where every single dollar of that huge amount is for. So the ship that has to pay this fee today is the Gaschem Narwahl, which is an LPG tanker with an Liberian flag, and it was coming from Korea, and it's on its way here to the east coast of Mexico. And as you can see, it went through here, and then there is a bit of an obstacle because it's all land over here. So, but there is something in the middle of it all, which is the Panama Canal. So if you want to go through the Panama Canal, you'll have to pay a transit fee. So that's what that fee is for. Now, would it be smarter to maybe go around all the way South America and then to Mexico? So I'm going to calculate how much it costs to go through the canal and how much it costs to go around South America. But obviously it's going to be a little bit cheaper, or else they would not be going to the Panama Canal. But the amount of this fee is just huge. I mean, it's some people's the price of a small house. So it's crazy. For those that are not familiar with the Panama Canal, so the canal goes from the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean, to the Pacific Ocean, to the Gulf of Panama, and it's about a 50-mile stretch, and it will go through the Gatun Lake. But to go up to the lake, you have to go through some locks, and then to go back down into the Pacific Ocean, you have to go through some locks to step down again. I have been to this canal a couple of times, mostly with cruise ships. And it's very spectacular. I'll show you some more pictures of it here in a second, how this actually works, because it's quite different than other locks. So you have the Gatun locks, then you have the Pedro Miguel locks, the Miraflores locks, but they have added some bigger and better locks in 2016. Actually, the Panama Canal is from 1914. So about 100 years later, they added some new locks for bigger ships, and they're called the Cockerly locks and the Agua Clara locks. Now, why do you have to go through all these locks? It's basically because this Gatun Lake here in the middle is about 26 meters or 85 feet higher than the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. So you'd have to step up to the Gatun Lake, go over the Gatun Lake, and then step down again to where you want to go. For those that are not familiar with the Panama Canal, here's a photo of the Gatun locks. And I'm quite familiar with these Gatun locks because we've been through here with a cruise ship a lot. We were on a Panama Canal cruise, and what we would do, we would go through these Gatun locks only to Gatun Lake. We would not go all the way from the Atlantic side all the way to the Pacific side. It was just for the passengers to experience the Panama Canal. So we would go in this lock here, so there's 3 steps, step 1, step 2, step 3. So you go into the first lock, then they open the door for the second one, and then they open the door for the third one. And then you arrived at the Gatun Lake, which is about 28 meters higher than the Atlantic Ocean side. As you can see, there's a cruise ship over here, and there's a tanker coming down this way. And this was always a crazy busy day because we would arrive there early morning. I would say probably 5, 6 in the morning at the Gatun locks. We would get the pilot on board, we would get line handlers on board, and then we would go through the locks. But on the other side, we would then drop anchor, and our passengers would go on a shore excursion. And to get them to the shore, we have boats that are used as lifeboats, but also used as tenders to tender our passengers ashore. So we lower those tenders, and then we pick up the passengers from the ship to bring them to the shore side, because they will go on a bus tour. So then we have to raise the tenders back out the water, back on the ship. Then we have to raise the anchor up again, and then we have to go through the locks again, making our way down. And then there is a port right next to the exit here of the Gatun Lakes, is called Colon. So then we would dock in Colon, and then we would wait for our passengers to finish their tour that they were on, and then we would leave sometime in the evening, maybe 6 o'clock, or if there was delays because passengers were or bus tours were late, then we would leave maybe at 7. So it was a long day from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening, non-stop action. So that was always a crazy busy day. What makes the Panama Canal quite fascinating is that when you're going through this lock, there's locomotives that will help you to stay in the middle of the locks when you're going through. So you will have locomotives going on this rail over here on the port side, and you'll have locomotives on the rail going here on the starboard side. And depending on the size of the ship, you will have 4 or 6 or maybe 8 locomotives, and they will tie up to the ship. Now, they do not actually pull you through the locks, they just help you to stay in the middle of the locks. And the ships will still use their own propulsion to make their way through these locks from one step to another. But you have to be very careful how much power that you apply, because obviously there's the doors that are the lock doors that are behind you. So you have to very gently give some power to move forward. Here's a good picture of the locomotives that are attached with steel wires to the ship on both sides, and they are also called mules, and they will help to keep the ship in the middle of the lock when they're going from one step to the next, and so on. Now, obviously, this is not cheap. You know, all these locomotives, all these people, you have line handlers, you have pilots, you have a transit fee. There is so many fees that are involved in this. So I'm going to break down exactly what all those fees are and what they are totaling up to be in total, because it is a huge amount. We're going to calculate 2 costs. So one is to go through the Panama Canal, so to transit through the Panama Canal. We're going to do that with this calculator. And then we are also going to calculate how much it would cost extra if you would go all the way around South America, how much that would cost. So we need some details from the ship, which we can find all on this page over here. But we already know this is an LPG tanker. So we're going to click LPG carriers. And then it is asking us the lock type. So if it's a regular, a super, or a Neo Panamax. Now, we will have to look at the size of the vessel. And the size of the vessel, as you can see here, is 188 meters. So if we go to this picture back over here, if it's less than 294 meters, then it is a Panamax ship. So we have to fill in Panamax. Now you have also Panamax Plus, which uses the same old locks as the Panamax size ships, but they are allowed to be a little bit bigger. But because there is then less space and it's a little bit more tricky, they will also have to pay a little bit more. But they can be a little bit longer. They cannot be any wider, but they can also have a little bit more draft of 12.5 meters instead of 12. Now the Neo Panamax, that is for the new locks. Those are the Cocoli locks and the Agua Clara locks. That's for the really big container ships and so on. You can go up to 366 meters long and 49 meters wide with a draft of 15.2 meters. So that is huge. But going back to the calculation, we now know that this is a regular Panamax size. So we click regular. Then it is asking for the capacity. This will determine how much it will cost to go through to transit the canal. And as you can see here, if you click on this, it says for LPG they want the cubic meters capacity of this ship. So if you go back to the vessel details, then you can scroll down over here, and then you can see it can take gas. It can take 35,379 cubes of gas. So we're going to take this number and then we're going to put that in over here. Obviously this ship is laden, and then the length overall in meters. So we're going to go back to our vessel details. Length overall in meters, we already looked at, that was 188. So we're going to copy that also in this calculator. And then the beam, how much is the beam? Is 29 meters. So we're going to put that in there as well. And then we will get a grand total. So let's click calculate. Here are the results of all the fees that this ship needs to pay today. So let's have a look. I'm going to highlight them, the fixed fees and all the other fees, which are totaling up to be $236,911.07. That is a crazy amount. But let's have a look. Let's break down each fee. So there's a fixed fee of $60,000. Which is basically a base charge which is applied to all transits, and this covers, administrative, but also mostly operational cost of the canal authority and also the pilots and so on. So that is a big upfront cost. Then the capacity fee. So that is based on the ship's capacity. As we plugged in those numbers, this is essentially like the main toll that the ship is paying. So it's $90,216.45. Then there is tug assistance, because there will be tugboats that will either help you or will be standby for you, but you will also have to pay $11,600 for those. Then there are line handlers. They will come on board with a little boat to help to attach the wires, the steel wires, to the locomotives. That's another $5,130. And this is mandatory. The ship personnel cannot do that, so you have to pay for that as well. Then the locomotive wires, $6,000 for the wires. So that covers the use of the locomotives, or also called the mules, and the steel cables that keep the ship centered in the middle of the locks. Then you have a canal inspection of $670, which is a more like a pre-transit inspection by the canal officials to verify, if the ship is in good condition, if it's seaworthy. It will look at the documentation of the ship and look at certificates and to make sure that the ship is okay to sail through the canal. Then you have a security surcharge of $1,250, and that's basically a standard maritime security fee that are used for transits. Then you have the launch hire, and it is $600, but it could actually be more. The launch hire is basically, there will be little boats that will come to the ship. The pilot will come with a little launch boat. The line handlers, maybe other agents will come on board or whatever. So that fee is all for small boats that will come to the ship to bring people on board. Then you have the PC oil pollution prevention fee of $1,410. That is basically an environmental protection charge to cover oil spill response if something would happen to the ship and they need to respond to it and clean it up. That is just the initial charge to help you with oil pollution if that might happen. Obviously, if there's an oil spill, there will be a bigger fee, a cleanup fee than that, but that is the initial fee that you always have to pay. Then there's the ADCS charge input for transfer and upload. So $274, not much. It's an administrative fee for, I think it was for administrative document control system or something like that. That's what ADCS stands for. Then a bank commission. So if they wire this money, they will also get a commission of $590.80. Then there is the fumigation fee. It is compulsory, it's mandatory, it's $385. They basically come on board with sort of like a smoke machine, and they go through areas and they will put smoke everywhere. It's to prevent invasive pests and diseases. Then there's auto hire, which is $110, which could be for if canal personnel needs to be transferred by car. That is what that fee is for. Then petties and incidentals, $164. Yeah, that's just for miscellaneous minor expense bills that they will have to pay. Then the fresh water surcharge. Now that's a big one. It's $10,000, and it's basically since the canal uses locks, they use fresh water from the Gatun Lake, and so there's a flat surcharge to use this fresh water from the Gatun Lake in the locks. Then there's also a freshwater surcharge, which is variable. And the variable one, it depends on the water level of the Gatun Lake itself. So if there's a drought and there's not a lot of water in the Gatun Lake, that means they will have less water for the locks as well to operate them. So they will have to get water from a different location to help with the locks operations. So then there is an additional charge of $7,510.82. And then lastly, there's also quite a big one, which is the transit booking fee, which is optional. So this is basically, it covers your spot. That if you say, I'm going to be there on this day and I want to go through immediately, then this is basically your fast pass. You can pay this fee and you arrive there on the date that you said you're going to be there, and you can go straight through. If you don't, you can go at anchor, not pay that fee, but then they will call you when there's a spot, and then you can go through the canal. Now, the last fee is the transit booking fee, which is optional, but it's $41,000. That's a big optional. But this is basically a fast pass charge. So if you say, I'm going to arrive on that day and I want to make sure that I'm going through the canal on that day, then you can pay this fee to make sure that you have a slot for you available and you can go through straight away. Now, in this case of this ship, let's have a look if they paid that fee or not, and we can go look at their information again. And you can see that their ETA was set for September 12th, and that is today. So they went through the canal today. So they were planning to be here on September 12th, and they went through on September 12th. And you can also see, if you zoom in a little further, they actually arrived here on September 10th. So they want to make sure that they were there for their scheduled slot, because it would be quite a waste of money if you would have, booked a slot and don't get it. So they arrived on September 10 at 13:35, and you can see here they slowed down and they went to the anchorage over here. And if you click on there, September 10th is when they, at 14:35 is when they roughly anchored. And then today at September 12th at 5:05 UTC, they made their way into the Panama Canal. Now that we know the grand total, a whopping $236,911.07 for this Panama Canal transit. Now that we know the total cost, we can have a look at how much it would cost if you would go all around South America. So all the way down here, around Cape Horn and going through Drake Passage, which is also not without risk because there's always high wind and high waves over here. And then you would have to go all the way around here to go to Mexico. That would add about 15 days total to your trip. Roughly, let's say this ship, the operating cost per day is about $30,000 per day, which would make it 15 times 30,000 is $450,000 to go around South America. Now that also means that if they go through the Panama Canal, they can deliver their cargo 15 days earlier, and they will also be able, they will be freed up again to take another cargo. So if they would go around, they would not be able to take another cargo because they're still bringing their cargo to this port. So it helps the ship, it helps where it's being delivered because it's 15 days earlier. So it is a win-win situation, because if it's $450,000 more to go around, and roughly, let's say it's $237,000 to go through the Panama Canal, then that is still a net savings of about $213,000 by going through the Panama Canal and not all the way around South America. So you save $213,000, a 15-day earlier delivery, and you can pick up a new cargo again 15 days earlier, and you do not have to go through Drake Passage and around Cape Horn. So that's all a win-win-win. And yeah, it is a big fee, but that is why they're paying it today. As a deck officer on cruise ships and cargo ships, I had no idea about all these huge fees. So this actually got me interested in doing more of these kind of videos. Like, we paid docking fees in ports. You know, I'm sure they were not cheap. We paid for Suez Canal, we paid for Panama Canal, we paid for, you know, or what if a ship gets scrapped? You know, how much does that cost, or do they get money? I'm actually quite interested to find out more about shipping costs. So if you're also interested in finding out more about shipping costs in general, then subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to do more of these kind of videos. So if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up so that more people will also see this video. Subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed this video, I would suggest also have a look at this video right over here. I think you would find that interesting as well.